And so they learn a lot. The men have amazing skills. Some are noted for one thing or another thing, and they will be in charge of that. But there's one person who designed the building, and he will have everything all laid out. He worked with the owner of the farm, which usually they cut down the trees in the pasture, brought them up, brought a portable sawmill in, buzzed the wood up right there. Everything is right there from the farm. And then once it goes up, it's just remarkable how it comes together. But the little guys, they amaze me. I mean, you got to remember, I said they're just concrete floors or walls, and then you put the beams across, and then they start the little guys. And when I say little guys, I'm talking like from probably 3 or 4 to 12-year-olds. They would start in one corner of the barn, and there'd be like a 12-year-old in charge of it, all of them, and there might be 30 of them, little guys. And they all got a hammer. Some of them have to use 2 hands to lift it. They're cute as anything, but all day long, and you never hear of anybody crying, whining, tired, nothing. They just work. They start in that corner. By the end of the day, when you're up here doing all this stuff overhead, they're slowly working across that floor. They're cutting the boards with a handsaw to make them the right length to go over the floor joists, and it's remarkable. By the end of the day, the whole floor is completed, and it looks like men did that job. And you go, wow, these little guys are amazing. And they take pride in it, and they really want to help. That's what makes it really kind of special. When I show up at these things, I'm kind of a novelty item for the little guys. They always kind of come around, and they'll want to check out my hat and stuff like that. And
feel your hair.
yeah, you know, a mustache, and they're not so sure about mustache.
Well, what do you do there? Are you just there for entertainment?
No, you better not. You better be ready to work when you show up there.
So what do you do?
Everything.
Okay.
Absolutely everything. I've been on the roofs. I've been on the top. I've been underneath. Everything. And I like to do a lot of different things just so I learn different things. And I work with different people. I've gotten to meet so many people by doing that. And they're okay. They're just glad to have some help, you know, and they welcome anybody that's willing to work. You show up with a tool belt and a hammer, a ruler, and a little T-square. You got to have that. And now I sometimes show up with my chainsaw. Now that's almost cheap, because when you show up with a chainsaw, suddenly you're everybody's buddy. Because otherwise they're up there, and they can just swing by me and zip, and it's done. And the last barn I was at, we got all the upper part done, and then I went out behind the barn where they had a stack of lumber. I mean, a big stack, 1 by 10s by 15, 16, 18, 20 long. And we were putting the siding on. So 2 kids would carry the board over and put it on sawhorses. One guy would catch the end of it, measure it right out, and while one is marking where I got to make the cut to make it the perfect height, because the roof keeps going up, so every board is different. Every board's got to be measured separate, and there's guys calling down numbers and guys measuring. Well, one's doing that. Guys are going across the little T-squares and making lines on the board, and other kids, mostly kids, were putting nails right in it, right where the right on, and so that they just hold it up, and boom, boom, boom. Those guys that are hanging up there are just pounding them right in. I mean, it's like maybe 30 seconds for a board. Boom, boom, boom. And it's just like, get out of the way. Either, lead, follow, or get out of the way. I guess that's the way it is. But it's neat to see that kind of progress. And they couldn't do that without the chainsaw, slow things down. So I just was able to cut the entire barn. And we did it in probably an hour and a half. It would have taken hours. So there's just different things that go on. Some of the other little kids will be going around taking 5-gallon buckets with half a bucket of water, because that's all they can carry, and they're watering the horses all day long, because the horses are all tied around hay wagons. And so they're all just standing there eating all day, and the kids make sure they've got water, and they go around and take care of the horses. And it's just what they do. It's just incredible.
And the women are there as well?
The women you don't see.
Meals and water.
They're cooking.
Yeah.
They're in the house somewhere cooking, and they put on the meal that you would not believe. If you take about like a Christmas dinner or a Thanksgiving dinner, multiply it by 10. It's incredible, the feed that they put on at these barn raisings. The food is to die for. You can't get a meal like that at any restaurant in central New York. Not possible. The food is just put on. The women just pop out. They got a big bowl of mashed potatoes. They got a bowl of peas. They got a bowl of beans. They got a bowl of applesauce. They got a whole stack of buns all right out of the oven. Everything is hot, fresh. Meat, the chicken, you don't have to use a knife. Everything you just cut with a fork. It falls off. It's
So do they bring food with them, or is it the owner of the new barn that pays for it?
Yes. And the neighbors kick in. They help. Because it's incredible to feed 100 guys. You know. Yes?
Do they drink alcohol?
Some do. Some do. It's not really accepted.
This is not the time where we're going to stop and have a beer.
Never. You mean at a barn raising? Oh, never. I've never seen anybody ever do that. Some will at home. Some will for medicinal purposes. And alcohol is not a big deal with them. It is more with the kids, the teenagers. They can't wait to be able to go out and get drunk. You know, it's something they see the English kids do, and they love to do that. So there's some interest that way. I'm sorry, I'm taking too much time here. Are you okay if I move on here?
Yeah.
The community fundraisers are a big thing for taking care of those issues when somebody's injured, you know, have a horse accident or fall off a roof or something. Now, so far, at all the ones I've been at, no one has gotten hurt. And I mean, I can't even believe it. Because I walk around there thinking, whoa, you know, some of them are up on the rafters and they're sawing. And they cut a board off and then it's going to come down somewhere. And if you're not careful, it could be on your head. But
And obviously, if there's a fire, it would be the local fire department would respond. And
Yes.
it's just like any of us.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And they support their firemen. Transportation, here we go. They love their horses, and that's a big thing. Horses right now are crazy through the roof. When you think about, I used to think, oh, $1,500, $2,500, you buy a real nice horse. Not even close today. The horse on the lower left is a Dutch harness horse. That's a breed. And they were very popular a little while ago. They're a gorgeous horse. But they tend to be a little bit more, flighty with traffic and with big trucks and things going by. The one in the middle is a standard bred. And that's your typical horse. They love the standard breds. That's probably their preferred horse. I'd say that, and down the lower right is a Morgan. And the Morgans, they love the Morgans. They're a versatile horse. They're good, they're sound, they're solid. They can do everything. They can take them to church. They can go to town with them. They can even hook them up and help the draft horses if they got to plow a big field. You know, they use them for everything. The upper right is something I've noticed just in the last 5 years. That's a Frisian. And the Frisian horses are absolutely gorgeous. And they're very expensive. I mean, a typical Frisian, you're probably going to start around $25,000. And some Amish, I knew one guy, he bought two big, beautiful Frisian stallions. And he's a young guy. His business is breeding horses. All his neighbors bring their horses to be bred at his, and it's remarkable. He has some of the most classy horses going, and they make elegant, elegant buggy horses. The Frisians have been known for years as they were basically the carriage horse for the royalty in Europe. And they're just spectacular, beautiful horses. But at any rate, we talked about horses somewhat before, and I got to keep moving. Then you got the drafts. You got to get the work done. These are the boys that'll do it. So the Belgians on the lower left, plowing the field, I think that's their preferred horse. I see more Belgians around than any other breed. They're big, they're good, they're quiet, they're great horses. The one in the upper right is a Percheron. It's a big black one. Some Percherons are white or gray, others are black. I love the black ones, that's why I used a black picture. They're big, beautiful horses, and they do a great job. The one in the middle is a Clydesdale, and that's mine. His name is Ben, but Ben is Clydesdale, the Budweiser horse. Now, you can see he's kind of a big guy. He actually stands, his back is about here on me. He's over 18 hands. He's a big boy. But they like their draft horses. They use them for everything. They have different kinds of drafts, I mean, obviously, but for different purposes. Some the kids can drive, some the father or the teenage boys need to drive. Some they'll say that's a boy's horse. Well, that means that's got a little fire and a little off to the races. You got to hold on to your hat there because you might just get away from you. But they love their horses and they need their horses for everything they do. Transportation, cars or vans with drivers. That's something that they will use if they're going somewhere, beyond, say, 20 miles with a good distance for a horse. So if they're going to go somewhere special, they will hire a driver. Or if they're going to get picked up at the airport, or not airport, they don't ever fly, at the train station or bus station, they'll have a driver meet them there. And it'll be somebody with a van or a car or whatever, and just pick them up. And they travel a lot more than I ever dreamed of. They're on the road all the time. They go to weddings, they go to funerals, they go to just visit friends and family, and they really get around much, much more than I would have ever guessed. I know because they're always calling, asking if I could take them down to the bus station or pick them up. That happens quite a bit. But Amtrak and Greyhound they're big patrons of that, and they do complain about having to wear the mask. This is a big one. Joining and leaving the Amish. We've probably all heard of that Rum Spring, the time between 16 and a half and when they join the church or their 21st birthday. That's when every person, every Amish, has the chance to experience the world. They don't expect them to be Amish. They love them to be Amish, but they don't require it. And they give them the opportunity for free choice. If they're going to be Amish, they want them to really want to be Amish. They don't want them always wishing, gee, I wish I was English and I could do some of this other stuff, or I always wanted to drive a car. Well, during that Rum Spring of time, they can do those things. You will see those young boys get drunk, and the horse will get them home, and just do different things. Drive a tractor, do some things that the elders would not approve of, but they will do those kinds of things because they're teenagers. And
So they live at home during Rum Spring?
typically, some could leave and just go, and I'll tell you that really just crushes the family.
Yeah.
It's devastating when one leaves, and it's not just for them, but for the community, because the community will look at those parents as if maybe something's wrong, that it's their fault that those kids left, and they may treat them differently. There's it's not shunning, but it's antisocial kind of behavior toward them. So it makes it really hard on the community, on the individuals, and there's a lot to that Rum Spring of time and when they are off just checking out the world. The shunning we talked about somewhat. They can go and come back and they'll be accepted back, but they better follow the rules or they will be shunned big time.
So I guess my understanding of Rum Spring was different. I always thought they left the home for a period of time and then came back.
Yeah.
But you're saying that they can live at home
Mhm.
and go out into the English world, do what they want, come back that night.
Yep.
Do they, can they wear English clothing? Can they do all of that? So if I'm Amish, I have to wear my traditional clothing and go to the movies, or drive a car, or whatever I'm gonna do in that clothing.
Yeah.
Or have a stash of clothing somewhere and makeup and all of that and change my clothes when they get out.
Yeah, it's more likely. They're not gonna do something that's gonna get them shunned.
Right.
You know, they want to be careful not to cross those lines. And those lines are pretty clear, what you can and can't do. They give those teenagers a little more flexibility. They would never have that flexibility as an adult. They don't have to leave, though. The parents, I think, would prefer they stay, because at least then they have an idea what's going on. You know, but it can be a touchy time.
You know, you're talking about what's going on in this area. If we were in Michigan,
Yeah.
are these rules going to be different?
Yes.
Is
Every
this-
community.
So is this a more lax area?
No, this is a pretty conservative area in this area.
So to be able to do what you want during this period?
Well, to an extent. You cross some lines and you're not going to be able to do what you want. You will be shunned. You'll be out of the community.
But during that period, where are the lines? Sounds
Well-
like they can go off and do whatever they want.
Well, not really. They can touch their toes into the water here and there. They better not dive in though. They cross those kind of lines and they aren't gonna. You know, if they leave the Amish for a while and just say they go out west somewhere and they do what they want to do, and then they're away from the family and that's okay with everybody, but then they come back, they can get back in good graces with the church and with everybody in the community. However, let's say that a guy goes out Michigan and brings back an English wife. He'll never be accepted. He's done. That's where you cross that line, you cannot cross back. So there's certain things that there's hard rules, and I don't know all the rules because they vary with communities. But there's a lot of rules, and you have to know the rules in your community, is all I can tell you. Somebody else got a question?
Now, is it a stretch to call them a cult?
That's a stretch.
Yeah, but
They are not a cult because they all have free choice. And they can be. Some people have called them a cult because they look alike, they dress alike, they do. But that's their lifestyle. That's what they have chosen.
But you're brainwashing or the kids from a young
No.
age.
What do you mean that they have free choice?
I mean, it seems like it has a lot of the characteristics.
The free choice is they can get up in the morning and do what they choose, you know, as long as it's within the rules, the Amish rules for their community. If they're going to go outside of those boundaries, they will be shunned. And if they continue to do that kind of thing, they will be done. They will be shunned permanently. But it isn't necessarily a permanent. Shunning, I thought, was once it happened, it was done. There's different levels of shunning. And it depends on the community, depends on the bishop, depends on the elders. It depends on the sense of the community.
Well, it's guilt too, it's instilled, right?
Yeah,
Guilt is a
Sure.
form of power.
it is a form of power.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't call it a cult, though. I know cults, and I've seen people involved with cults, and I wouldn't call this a cult at all. You always see the sensational stuff, the pictures of the young ladies that are going wild, leaving the Amish. It's amazing when you put some makeup and all this other stuff on them, and their hair is always long. The women do not cut their hair. Their hair, I'm amazed, it's down to their butt in most cases. It's really long, beautiful, beautiful hair. And when they get dressed up, they look pretty darn nice. Well, you don't see that hardly ever. That's not their way. Their way is to look plain, simple, and that's something that's reserved for something special, not for everybody. Family, obviously, is the biggest, most important thing in the Amish life. And the one in the middle is one of the higher order Amish, which you can see, maybe even Mennonite. The one on the left is more of a Schwartzentruber Amish, the lower old order. And the one on the other side is also just a kind of a middle Amish family. But they do everything, so many things together. It's family, it's breakfast, it's lunch, it's dinner, everything is together. Yes?
What modern appliances might you see in an Amish home? Will they have refrigerators, toasters, coffee pots?
No.
Nothing?
They would have, well, a coffee pot like you're thinking of, you plug in, there's no electric. So they do have running water. They don't have hot water, but they've got running water. And they'll usually have up in the barn a great big like cistern. Could be metal, could be plastic, could be whatever. A big thing with the hay stored around it so it never freezes. And then the water coming out of there comes out with pressure under the ground all the way up to the house, and you just turn on the spigot and it flows. So they've got water, but
No refrigeration?
no. Refrigeration is an ice house, usually outside, down away from the house. They also have an outhouse out back. So it's not the kinds of things that we're used to here.
So they cook on a wood stove?
Cook on a wood stove all year round. 90 degrees, that wood fire is going. Yeah. Yep. At any rate, the family is critical. It's everything. And they are very close families. And they remain close. As the kids grow up, they get married, their families, their kids, everybody remains close. And that's part of it. Now, the Amish fun kind of stuff, they love hunting, they love fishing, they love board games. Board games I'd never heard of. You think of like Monopoly or something like, they have tons of board games. And they play them. And they'll have game nights and stuff, like on a Friday night or on one of those visiting Sundays. There'll be all kinds of board games going on. Now and then, Stewart's has a big ice cream special. My wife and I, Cindy and I, will usually go over and buy a bunch of ice cream, and we'll stop over to the neighbors, and it'll turn into one of these board game nights, and you play all kinds of games that you just never heard of, but they're really fun, and you just go, wow, I've never heard of this one, and it's a good time. They're really.
Do they celebrate Christmas and Thanksgiving?
Absolutely.
They do.
Just like any other Christians. Yep. They do it all. Religion is very important, and nothing more sacred than Christmas to them. The kids love the hunting and the fishing. They love to be able to bring something home for the family to eat. So what they shoot, they eat, and it's part of their way of giving to the family. And same with fishing. Ball games, I don't see that so much out here. That's more of a Pennsylvania and Ohio thing. Every school's got a ball field and all that in Ohio and Pennsylvania that I saw. I don't see them around here. Some do, but not most. I don't know why. I've asked them, how come you guys don't play baseball or softball or soccer or something? Yeah, we never cared to. We play tag or things like that. I took a bunch of them with me once. A neighbor called up and asked if I wanted to come play hockey on the pond. So I said, sure. So I said, could I bring a couple of Amish neighbors? I said, I know these kids skate because they run around the pond chasing each other, but they had no idea what hockey was. And so I brought some sticks and all this stuff and some equipment for them. And they went over, and the father came. He wanted to see what the heck was this all about, So he came along. He wore his boots. But the rest of us put on our skates and all this. I had a heck of a time. And the people that were playing, it was mostly 20-year-olds. And the kids that I brought with me were like probably 14, 16, 17, that age, boys. And they had a blast. They had never played a team sport like that. And they just enjoyed the devil out of it. The picture in the bottom, I got to tell you, there's a little story that goes with that picture. Cindy and I were sitting in our living room, watching TV on a visiting Sunday. We didn't know it was a visiting Sunday, it was a Sunday. And we were just watching TV, and we hear all this giggling and splashing. And I grabbed my phone, because I said, this is gonna be good. And I hoofed it down to the creek, which is 100 yards away or so, and maybe a couple hundred yards. And the boys are, neighbor boys, they're each on a horse that's about 16, 17 hands tall. And these guys are only, I don't know, I'd say the oldest one there's probably 12, 10, 8. And they're just having a blast. They're chasing each other around, they're making their own games. There's some places where the water was over the horses' heads, and they drop right down in. And I said, your father's gonna get after you guys when he sees those saddles. But they really had a blast. And it was funny. They said, see, you got your phone. Would you take a picture of us? Because I really wouldn't have. I wanted to. And they said, if you'll take a picture, don't tell our dad. And they all wanted to see that picture, you know? And that's the picture. But yeah, it was just awful cute. And they just had a blast playing in that water.
So do they have to follow the same rules for hunting and fishing, like have a license and all that?
Same
stuff?
rules, yep.
Same rules?
Same season, same everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
I've seen groups of them swimming at state parks.
Yeah,
I mean, they don't swim really, but they walk.
they walk in the water. Yeah, I don't know if they even know how to swim.
No.
She was saying that she's seen them in state parks, groups of them, large groups of them in the water, but they don't necessarily swim. Yeah, they love the water, but they rarely take the time to go, you know, play in the water. And I really don't know if they know how to swim, but they sure love it, and they love to have a picnic.
Oh.
That's something special. We invited the family over one day for a picnic at our house on the deck, and it was a visiting Sunday, and we didn't know what to expect. This was shortly after they moved in, and they showed up. You know, this mother and father, and I think there was 11 kids at that point. Yeah, they ended up
At
with,
that point.
yeah, they had 2 more later. But so they all show up, and they are dressed to kill. I mean, all the kids, everybody, their Sunday clothes. And they came in, and I thought, whoa, this is gonna, you know, I got just my jeans and stuff on here. And we had a cookout. We had hot dogs and hamburgers, and we had all kinds of salads and different things like that. Well, the mother had prepared all kinds of desserts for us. So that was incredible. I mean, the pies and the cakes and the cookies and all kinds of things like that. And the kids, now, when I was at SUNY, one of the things, I worked at SUNY for too many years. 34 years. And while I was there, I built the ropes course and ran the ropes course at the college. And for anybody that doesn't know what a ropes course is, it's kind of group challenges where you have to go out in the woods and you try and solve a problem. Well, I said, I'm going to get these kids. So I created lots of different challenges for them to do as groups. And so they have to work together. They cannot be successful. One person can't do it. It's got to be a group working together to be successful. These kids were the best group I have ever seen. And this is from right down to like 3-year-olds. And they were amazing. They worked so well together, and they supported each other, helped each other. One that couldn't do something, the other was help. It was amazing to see that kind of just camaraderie and working together that they did. It was really fun. I tried to do things that I knew they could take back and do at their school, because it was all simple stuff, like needing some rope or needing a ball or needing a stick or something like that. And we probably did that stuff for like 2 hours, and they just were eating it up. They loved every bit of it. So they're fun. They're really a fun bunch. It's not moving. Okay. Well, here's one. Looks like a story goes with this one. Again, Cindy and I were sitting on the deck up there on the right, and again, it was a Sunday. It happened to be a visiting Sunday, which we didn't know at that time either. In the yard comes 6 of them on 4 horses. So 2 of them were riding double, and they pull in the yard, and they're all between, I'd say, The youngest is probably on the second horse, Danny. Was probably 8 at the time. The oldest one is over at the far left, Isaac. He's probably 14. And they come in the yard and they go to my wife. They go, "Could Dave come out and play?" So after I stopped laughing, I went and saddled 3 horses. And I put the buckskin in the middle is mine, and the Clydesdale is over here on the right. And I'm sitting on another horse of mine, that's Queen. You can see her ears. And so everybody got a horse, and we all went riding. I've got trails through the woods, and they just enjoyed it. You know, we just kind of went everywhere. Unfortunately, those guys, they want to go like 90 miles an hour. I'd rather take it a little easier and kind of enjoy the view. They're teenagers and kids, so, you know, we had a good time. And we were out
Are they
riding.
riding some of them bareback?
One of them is bareback. Danny didn't have a saddle, and I didn't have an extra one.
No.
Yeah. But there were 2 of them on that horse before, so he was happy to have them. And what was interesting, they loved riding my horses because they're good riding horses that steer. Their horses are, you know, they're more like workhorses as far as their training. So this is like riding sports cars. So they were jumping from horse to horse, switching back and forth so they could get a chance to ride every horse. It was just cute. I got a charge out of it.
You as a neighbor, like if you had a pair of boots that your son outgrew, as long as they weren't orange and yellow, would they accept something like that?
Sure.
They can accept a gift from you.
Yeah. Actually, when I go to garage sales, I'm always working on the people. They'll have, you know, they always have that boot box or a skate box. And I'll say, could I give you $20 for the whole box? And I'll take it over and give it to them. And shoes, sneakers, anything like that. Yeah. And they always like it because the kids, they're just growing through everything so fast. Clothes, not so much. You know, they make their own clothes. They don't want to look like us. That's different. But shoes and things, yeah, they love that. Yeah.
Will they take snow pants or parkas or
Maybe.
warm clothes?
Not, probably not. Most of their coats they'll wear, because it's outward. It's what people see. And they aren't going to wear a coat from JCPenney.
Well, if the kids learn how to ride on horses from very young.
Yes. Oh, very young. Let me tell you one. I know it's getting late. Some of you folks may have to leave here. But the father called me one day. The kids were all in school. He called me and asked if I could come over with a chainsaw and help him out. He really needed some firewood. And he had some trees, big trees on the edge of his cornfield, and he wanted to get them, you know, kind of move that field back. So I said, sure, I'll come over. And I get over there, and this is like January, so it's snow everywhere. And there was a little one, Anna was her name.